Okay, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Ross, introduce the guest, man.
Here we have One-2-Watch. He main events Clan Wars 40. Andreas Binder. Andreas, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ross. How are you keeping? How are you, Barry?
What's the story? Thanks, Emil, for coming on. Ross just announced it there. We have a new feature on the show called One-2-Watch. As you've seen, we previously had Jer Harris on, and we have Andreas on today. And he is fighting on Clan Wars this Saturday, so we had to get him on. So make sure to hit the link in the bio to buy the pay-per-view to support grassroots Irish MMA. Ross, go ahead.
Andreas, what is going on over in Galway? Because there seems to be something in the water over there. Shaolin MMA seems to be doing incredible things. Obviously, fighting on this card, you have Andreeas, you have Darren Kirwan, they have yourself. I mean, these are some top athletes that Galway MMA is producing. What's going on over there?
Just hard work, really. Everyone just kind of put their head down all through lockdown and just worked their ass off, and we just want to fight. We previously fought on Clan Wars every single show. We threw up fighters and we won team of the year, knockouts of the year, you name it. So we just want to kind of like put Galway on the map a bit more than, because all you hear like of different clubs up from Northern Ireland, from Dublin, you name it. But being from Galway, it's hard to kind of like, because we don't have many MMA clubs in here.
Do you feel like you're underrated in Galway?
I'd like to think that, like, we proved it time and time again, even in fighting against the SPGs and the Team Rhinos and you name it. We were kind of like underlooked at, should I say? But we done our talking in the cage.
And would you say? Go on, Bats.
Yeah, Andrews, you obviously made your MMA debut over a year ago, and then all of a sudden like COVID pops up, and it's just like absolutely halted the trajectory of your pro career. Like in between that, did you sit down with your team and like discuss like what did you sort of come up with with your team that would help you progress over this year and not being able to fight but just purely train? Like what did you really focus on?
Well, I kind of focus on everything. I'm not gonna lie, like the first wave, I should say, of pandemic, when it started, the first lockdown, it was more mentally draining than anything else. Like I was still doing my training, I was still coaching kids kind of through Zoom calls and etc., trying to stay fit. But mentally, it was just mentally draining. Like I kind of sat back for a week or two and be like, you know what, I don't want to be a trainer. I don't want to do this, because I knew it was just prolonged and like this COVID, and you don't know what was going to happen. And then I kind of like the way our gyms were closed and we weren't allowed to train, we set up like, we bought mats, we bought like the cage wall, we bought everything just to kind of like train and keep busy. And we kind of made our little group, our little bubble, should I say. And then Ian Coughlin moved down from Dublin as well, and I've been training with him and the rest of the lads my weight, and it's just progressed on everything, like wrestling, jitsu, striking. I was training with world champions at taekwondo. It's excelled big time. Like, I stayed a bit quiet for the first few months, just kind of grinding away and training, and it's just, I found it was better when I was training, like that I didn't have any fights lined up, because I can focus on everything. But then when you have a fight lined up or whatever, you kind of have to focus on this style or this style. But it was just nice to learn from everyone,
Yeah, man, it's great to see that, you're putting in the work behind the scenes. Obviously the country's open back up, and, you're headlining the show. I don't think you've ever lost on Clan Wars, have you, Andreas?
No, I fought on Clan Wars, I think 4 or 5 times. I can't remember, to be sure. But no, I absolutely love the atmosphere up there. It's going to be a bit different now without having the crowd, and like, because I always bring, hundreds of people coming up to Belfast to watch me fight and everything, and means the world. But it's I don't know, it's going to be weird fighting without crowds to start off.
The funny thing is, myself and Ross, like, we were friends. We've been friends online for ages now. But I remember we went to the event, Ross, in the right venue, and the only 2 people we knew were yourself and Ian Gary. And then it's so funny how like it's actually such a small country, isn't it, Ross? Like,
I know.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. That was a K1 fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was some scrap, and he's a heavy hitter. I'm not gonna lie, he's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, and everyone knows in the country now how well Ian's doing. He's fighting for the Cage Warriors welterweight title, and like everyone's like backing him. And funny enough, you're the only person to have beaten him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we were both starting off our careers. I knew he was a good fighter back then. Even now, he's a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, how should I say? I wanted to test myself against his skill, and I proved it. Like, experience, bet that. And because I think I had about 7 fights under my belt, and that was his 3rd or 4th one, if I'm not mistaken. And he was undefeated as well. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
No,
yeah, but it just go show your skill level as well, because I'm sure from day one Ian was a bright talent, and like we'll see what he's gone on to now. When you see someone like that go on to what they've done, I'm not going to say it might make you jealous or envious, but like, are you almost like upset that you haven't progressed as fast as he has?
You know what? Everyone kind of progresses at different times. Everyone kind of hits different times, different peaks. Do you know what I mean? And I'm actually proud to see him do that, like, because it brings us young prospects on the map as well. Like, so fair play to him, like. But yet again, do you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of, it's helping young kids as well to kind of develop their game and be, oh, I can be a world champion. I can do this. I can do that. And it makes me proud seeing that, like, and I'm happy out that, look, he got where he is and everything through hard work. And I'm not going to take anything away from that. But my time will come.
Yeah. And Andreas, obviously, you plan on putting on a show come this weekend, 5th of June. Pay-per-view link is in the bio, as Barry will say about 5 times in this video.
Yeah. In the bio.
In the bio.
Event in the bio.
Andreas, what's the next couple of plans? What's the plan for the future, the next 2 or 3 years? Like, how many more flights do you want to take? I'm not too sure. Is the Battle Arena still a fight on?
Yeah.
The Battle Arena fight still on. Where do you see yourself in a year, 2 years' time?
I want to get as many fights, as much experience, because I've missed out on so much over this past year, or because of COVID, because of fights getting pulled on me, because of shows getting cancelled on me. I obviously have this fight in Clan Wars. I'm glad to be back on. I have Battle Arena then again in 24th of July against Corey Bellingham. Another good prospect from the UK, undefeated as a pro, good amateur career. I just want to, like, if it was up to me, I could fight every month. That's what I've done as an amateur, and I miss that. And I kind of miss fighting so much that I'm willing to even fight every month. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be ready after this fight. I'll say maybe just under a week out, just to relax a bit with the family and friends, and then back into camp again. So I want to try and fight as many fights as I can this year. Hopefully 5 fights by the end of this year.
And tell us this: where's the end goal? Some people are UFC only. Some people are wherever they can get the most money. Some people have various different goals. What's the goal for Andreas Binder?
Obviously, I want to be a world champion, either in Cage Wars, either in Brave, in One Championships, in UFC. But I have to kind of play it. How should I say? I want to play it as, obviously my end goal is the UFC, but I need to work on my technical skills. I need to work on, how should I say, self-fights a bit more and everything. And then, do you know what I mean? I want to put my name out there by obviously finishing people and making big moves in the pro league. But yet again, you need to be smart about it as well. You don't want to be fighting people that are like 17-0 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's when your banishment team comes in handy. That's when your coaches come in handy. So yeah, but I'd love to find the UFC. That's my end goal.
And who's at the board of directors table at Andreas Binder and co? Who sits down at the table? Who do you discuss your future with? Ben has been my rock since the amateur careers. I remember, like, I was into judo, and I was this fat little kid fighting at, like, I think it was under 100 kilos in judo, and I came into, I remember it was a novice inter-club event, picked the lads up with suplexes and uchimaras, slammed them. Then Ben came into me straight away and he was like, look, I think you should start doing MMA. I was like, no, MMA is not for me. I went in then, literally, he used to come into Galway, drive me in, himself and Ollie Mannion, and
drive me into training, and I came into in the club or whatever saying, I'll fight any light heavyweight. I was like 93 kilos back then, like
Big dog.
I was absolutely just a fat little donut, like. And then he put me in against Vilmer. He's a pro MMA fighter. I think he's like 3-1 light heavyweight, and he was walking around 110, 115 or whatever he was. And he was, all right, you want to fight light heavyweight? Go against him. So he does some rounds on him. I couldn't even move the lad, and he was like, right, light heavyweight's not for me. Dunked me on my head a few times. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll drop middleweight. And then I found out I'm too small for that as well. So I'm slowly I feel alive at welterweight, and I feel strong as well, you know.
I think physically and looking at your stature, like welterweight is a good size for you. I think you have a bit of range there as well, which is always nice. So it's good that you have found your home, and it's good that, you know, you have Ben steering you in the right direction. Does he look after your management side of things as well?
Yeah, for now I don't have a manager. He was getting me my fights, he was getting me, do you know what I mean, my training and everything. But obviously further down the line, when my career progresses, I'll obviously be looking for a manager like on board as well, and then I have my coach and my manager, 2 separate businesses, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it looks like you're starting to like tie everything together, which is great to see, isn't it, Baz?
Yeah, I was just looking at it, and like you can tell you absolutely love it, and like you can tell you're going to do really, really well. But like the hard thing is, like, everyone knows anyone could just win a fight, and then loads of people be like, oh, you're amazing, and then you take your eye off the ball. But like what really keeps your eye on the ball, Andreas? Because like the more you win, the more you're going to be trying to get people are going to try and take your eye off the ball.
My eye will never come off the ball, because I've grown up in Ireland, or obviously coming from Romania when I was such a young age, being that foreigner kind of, you know, I moved to Ireland when I was 7. So regardless, I'll still be considered a little foreigner or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So getting bullied growing up and all that, and I just kind of want to set a good example for the kids anyway. That's my end goal. Do you know what I mean? I want them to look up and be like, oh, I want to be like him, or do you know what I mean? Or even better. That's what I'd love to see. Like,
how was that growing up, actually, Andreas? Because obviously that's going to be rough. You know what I mean? Like, kids are harsh, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the facts of it. And like,
yeah,
they try and say the meanest thing they can to hurt you. You know what I mean?
They look for
like,
anything. Whether you're too tall, too small, like too smart, too stupid, you're one. Like, you know.
Yeah. So how was that growing up, and what was it like moving over to Ireland in the first place? Or can you even remember that?
I can remember it every single day. Like, it was, how should I say? Like, it was. I just wanted, like, my parents wanted the new future for me. Like, obviously, like, growing up back home, it was nice and everything, but it was tough upbringing. Like, you know, obviously, like, we didn't have the money back then and whatever. And I'd see like people, like close friends of mine, their parents moving to Germany or whatever, and they'd be having new phones and all that back home. And obviously, like, it, you know, like, I didn't pay heed to it, but just thinking back on it, it was tough, like, growing up. And then when I came over here, like, my parents moved here, I'd say about 25, 26 years ago, like, trying to get me a better future and all that.
Was it straight to Galway?
Yeah. No, they moved to Dublin first. They lived in Dublin for a year or two. And then we came down to Galway because it was just a bit more quieter and kind of like laid back a little bit. Like, well, I think they've done every single possible job out there just to kind of raise me and my brother, you know, to a better life. And I'm grateful for that every single moment, like, you know. So and even education wise, like, it's just the education up here is just so much better than back home, you know, unless you were kind of had your guys in the school and here's a bit of money and all that, you won't get anywhere, like, you know. So I was lucky enough, like, to end up like finishing school here, have my degree, have this and the other. So that was my plan B. So just growing up, I was constantly like finding everything, really. So it was just nice to be kind of keep my head up and kind of have my focus on something. I was always big into sports. I used to play football all the time and everything, playing, you know. But yeah, that was it, really. Like, it was tough enough, like.
Yeah, you just brought up you play different sports. Do you think playing multiple types of sports actually can help you in fighting as well?
Oh, big time. Like, do you know what I mean? I used to play football, soccer. Sorry, I used to play soccer for Galway Bohemians, and I used to grow up playing football against, like, from Review and loads of different clubs. But when you say, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, MMA is an individual sport. It's not really. Like, it's still a team sport at the end of the day. You're individually alone in the cage when you go in, but behind you there's a team. Do you know what I mean? You have your strength conditioning coach, you have your boxing coach, you have your jiu-jitsu coach. There's always going to be a team. You're going to be at the end in the cage, locked in there alone, you and your opponent. But it's a team sport.
It's randomly like tennis, isn't it? You can't get better at tennis by hitting the ball over the net. No one hits it back to you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's the same in every sport, even golf. Like, you know what I mean? You're still individually on the court or whatever, like for golf. But I'm sure there's coaches that like you probably have to do your strength, you have to do your technique. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You also mentioned your brother. Your brother is following your footsteps as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Dennis used to do MMA as well, but how should I say? Like he started off judo to start off. So I went into judo, and he was kind of like the, how should I say? He was the center of attention kind of thing, like, you know, because he was 10 times better than me at judo. You know, we were born the Irish squad, everything was great. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try MMA. So I went into the MMA, and he followed me, and then I was kind of in the center of attention then there, and he was in my shadow. So he was like, you know what, I'm going to do something else. So he ended up going into Thai boxing, you know, and his stand-up game is just absolutely lethal for such a young kid. Like, well, he's not a young kid anymore. Like, he just turned 20.
What age
like,
now? 20.
20, yeah.
You never know. You might come back to MMA. You never know. You can't rule it out. And especially with the judoka background is something to behold. Like, you know, you've seen obviously Ronda Rousey successful. You look at someone like Hector Lombard as well. You know what I mean? He for me, he was actually the epitome of judokas in MMA, just because he was obviously, you know, so much shorter and smaller than the fellas he was fighting. But yeah, he could toss them around like there was no tomorrow.
That was actually my first fight. It was Lombards. And then I was watching George St. Pierre as well. So that was like, oh, I want to be like them. You know,
the goat. Controversial, but he is the GOAT.
GSP, yeah. So like as we were saying, like if you want to like make sure to buy the pay-per-view for this Saturday's event. Andreas is obviously headlining, and it's here to promote Irish MMA, and there's going to be more and more events coming. I think Clan Wars are doing another one in August as well, and like that'll be great to actually get for fans to go back. And that I'm not too sure yet, but if there will be fans allowed, we will be there. Ross, anything else to say?
No. Andreas, is there anyone you need to shout out?
Well, my sponsors anyway, they were being on board for me for literally from the start of my career, especially at pro. It's very tough now, especially when we're not really making any money because of this COVID, and it's just whatever they help me. So a big shout out to Solid Flow Recovery. I have Adrian and Nicola in there. They've been looking after my recovery day in, day out. I have Print on Galway, the girls in there, Diane. They've been looking after all my fight gear, and it's just saving a bit of bob there and then. It's hard as well. I have my newest sponsors as well, Galway Autos and Intercars. Galway Autos, they do van hires, rent cars, buy cars, you name it. And then Intercars, they're the garage, obviously. That's where I go to get all my service car, and my mates, they all go there. I have another new sponsor, Back in Motion, Alan Daly. He's my physio, so literally been keeping me injury free all through, especially these 47 tough weeks of fight camp. It's been a long road.
It's been ages, man.
I have Galway City Gym. They're my local gym. They got on board 4 years ago when I think that was my first gym that I joined. So they've been looking after me. And last but not least, I have Jack and Jones. I'm the face of Jack and Jones in Galway. So that's all is a great exposure as well. So get all your clothes in there, guys. They're good quality.
Shout out to all the sponsors as well.
Yeah.
Well, here, look, make sure to buy the link. The link is down in the bio. There is no excuses. It's going to be on Saturday. Make sure to buy it and get involved and support grassroots Irish MMA. Ross.
So, guys, if you did enjoy this video, which I'm sure you did, if you like Andreas Binder, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and as always, stay energized.